Hey, aloha everyone. Oifit happy cruise ko inoa, no makahamayao, no ha'amama laila, aya au I ka papa umi. We are going to be starting soon, but aloha and velina mai to the first ever Ea Ka'aio Hawaiʻi webinar. We are Ea Ka'aio Hawaiʻi, a collection of OPO from across the state dedicated to building resiliency through disseminating our understanding of Ea and resiliency and how liberation, can be manifested through Aina. We were woven together through the youth program action, no, excuse me, through the program, the Youth Action Alliance Hawaii, a project and a product of a coalition between Seeds of Peace, Hawaii Kids Can, and Pacific Asian Affairs Council. We have a couple of our mentors here this evening, and we would, just like to give the biggest shout outs to them. I see Jason and Erica. Thank you guys so much for attending and, all that you've done for us. And just thanks for creating a space where us young minds can get together and plan stuff like this. So, biggest mahalo to all of you.
Thank you, Ifi. Aloha o Elepekele Ko'uinoa, Aiao I ka papa umikumakahi. Hele au I ke kula o Sacred Hearts Academy. Before we begin, we would like to start off with some ground rules, a little bit about protocol. So for questions, they're highly encouraged. We all want to hear about your opinions. We want to hear your questions. So please, there's going to be time towards the end to unmute your mic and tell us all about it. But if you're uncomfortable with that, you can just private chat your questions to Anna Sue, and then she will direct your questions to our panelists. For the time being, please keep your mics muted so that we allow our panelists to be heard. And finally, we would love to be able to see you guys, so please turn your cameras on. I would like to also note that this will be a recorded session and it will be posted to our website at the end. So you can share with your family or friends just to show all the knowledge you learned. But if you're uncomfortable with that, you can turn it off, no judgment here. At the end of our session, we will be taking a group picture, so make sure to bring your smiles.
Mahalo ela, aloha kākou, o hedem kana nui Tucker ko uinoa, aiau I ka papa umi kumakahi, no mai ke kula o Kamehameha, I moku o Keawe. Aloha, my name is Hayden Konanui Tucker. I'm a current junior at Kamehameha Schools Hawaii on the Big Island. Just to make sure that all of our chats is working, I want to do a small icebreaker with you all. If you guys can type into the chat where you guys are tuning in from. If you know your ahupua'a, we would love to hear that. But if you don't know your ahupua'a, that's totally fine. Let's just hear where you guys are across our pai'aina. So if you could type into the chat where you guys are located, I would love to see where you guys all are at. I see Kailua Oahu. I see, oh, someone's tuning in from Arizona. That's so cool. I see Keokaha, Kaimuki, Tani Oahu in the house today. Mahalo you all for coming. And Anna, take it away.
Thank you so much, Hayden. So aloha o anasu ko uinoa, noho au I pololo, ayau I kapapa umi. So today we are honored to be able to represent Mahina Olelo Hawaii, which happens in February, as well as International Women's History Month, which happens in March. We're fortunate enough to have created our Mana Wahine Olelo Hawaii panel, a panel of distinguished women leaders who are continuously perpetuating Olelo Hawaii in their various professions.
Thank you, Anna. I am very pleased to introduce to you all our panelists. They are all Sacred Hearts grads. They are all beautiful, influential leaders in their community. First, we have Ipulani Liu. She's a Sacred Heart graduate in class of 95, and she is an educator in Hawaiian immersion and Hilo. So today she'll be talking to us about the importance of environmental education, but also the importance of immersion in education. We also have Napua Kasan Fisher. She is of the class of 2007. She works to oversee the Native Hawaiian Healthcare and Improvement Act. She's also involved in improving the health of Native Hawaiians and is focused on programs that empower and uplift women through culture. And last but not least, and also our youngest panelist, we have Logan Shroma. She is of the class of 2019. She is a second-year undergraduate student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa School of Architecture. As a student pursuing a bachelor's of environmental design, she strives to incorporate passive environmental design strategies to complement and perpetuate Hawaiian language and history. So these are our three wonderful panelists, and we're going to hear a little bit about their experience and their work. So, So we have a couple of general questions just to kind of gauge about you guys. I covered a little bit, but we want to hear more about your experience. So can you guys give us a little bit more background on yourself, and for fun, who is an Indigenous leader that inspires you to do what you do? Oh, and we can start, any one of you guys, Auntie Ipo or Napua or Logan.
Okay. Oba kamoa. No leila. E na hoa makamaka e ako ko mai ne vai puna lau ke aloa ka kua pau. O wau hoi o Ipola Nilu. No o aho mai au. Makali mo ili mai manalo, kane ohe. Wahana i avo maoa maane e. Na kuututu i hanai ai iau. No leila ua kipa mau maua. I ko maui o iai no maui mai ko ututu no pa ia hoi a kano na I wahana ia go ma pauku kalo. I ke ia manawa hana wau ma ke kula kaya o lelo o ke kula o nawahi o kalengi o pu'u. And he kuhu hou wau ma ke la kula o iai mamua ua hana wau ma ke kula kaya puni, aole ke kula kaya puni, e no ana e ke kula o ka ume ke kaio, ke kai kula kaya puni, kaya o lelo, ma hilone. Ua puka kula wau mai ke kula o Sacred Heart, o ia hoi na pu'u waila'a, maka iki ka nai wakumālima. A leila mahope o ke la, ua hele wau I ke kula nui, kula kaya ulu o Kapi'olani, no ke kai mau makahiki a leila lele wau I Maui, no ka ho'o mau ana I ka ho'o na awao ana. Ma Maui no wau I a'oi I ka ho'o nui ike mau ka mahele o lelo Hawai'i. Ma leila pu ai I ho'o kumu I ai ka papahana o lelo Hawai'i ma lalo o Hilo, no leila, me ke la mana o ua ne'ekino wau I Hilo nei. And e like me kaui o lelo mue I na haumana ma mua o ke ia, o ho'o hene wau I a lako e pili ana I ko'u make ole I ka noho ana ma Hilo nei o iai ua nui ke ia wahi. Ua nui, mau no ka ua. I nehi nei, aia e ha paha hola, o ka pā mai ana o ka la ua nani no, a leila ho'o maka hou I ka ua. Yeah. E no na e mahopi o iwa kalua mau makahiki. Ai no wau ia nei, no leila, ai no wau ma Hilo nei. Haa heo no wau I ka hiki ke hanai ia I ka o mau keiki elua. Ma ke kula kaya o lelo. Ma ke kula o nawahi o kalani o pu'u. O iai he po mai kai, no worry, I will translate all of this after. O iai he po mai kai nui ma ko o ko mau hoa hanau ma o ahu I ka hele ana I na kula ku o ko'a. Mai ka mala o ai ka umikumalua. Ua no o maua o ko utita o ia o Keli'i. O iai e lilo ana maua I makua. Pehea e hiki ai a kaua ke ho'olua e ka kaua mau keiki ma ka oiloa. Ia o iai ua hele mako I ke kula kuoko'a. Aole, ke kula, ke kula kuoko'a. Mai ka makahiki mala'o ai ka umikumalua. O ka no'ono o na makua, make e ano hanai I nā keiki, e oi aku ka nui o ka maika'i ma ko lākou wā. No leila, ua kuka mau ai pili ana I ke la, o ka maika'i ua hiki ke kainoa I kau mau keiki ma ke kula kaia o lelo. No ka mea, ma ko maua wā ulua e ana, o he mea. You know, a he papa o lalo Hawaiʻi ma ke kula ke kahi. Koe wale ko uhele ana I Kamehameha. O iai ma leila no wale no. Ma ka pala ma iloa ai ka papa o lalo Hawaiʻi. No leila me kela mana o ua hiki a mau o ko utita I hanai I na keiki, I ka mau keiki mau ka o lalo kaya o lalo. Ke kula kaya o lalo. O ko me e Hawaiʻi. O koʻu me e Hawaiʻi o ia o Ruta ke Elikolani. O ia nona e ma waho aku o kona nui a kamaina paha kākou a pou I kona nui. Ia oke, nui o ia. E nona e a ale maʻalahi ke alakaʻi ana. Ia, a he alakaʻi kūpaʻa o ia I ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. He alakaʻi haʻahaʻa kana au. He alakaʻi kūpaʻa o ia I nā mea Hawaiʻi like ʻole. Me kēlā manaʻo, ua koho, kāpuna o ka manawa, ua koho o Ruta e ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. A ʻole o kēlā he hoʻokai, ai ʻole he hoʻoio I ka ʻōlelo Pelikani a ʻole loa. O kēlā paha ka makemake nui e ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. O ia o kēlā ʻōlelo o ka ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi, kona ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. Ia, e no leila. O ia ke kumu o Ruta kekahi o koʻu meʻe Hawaiʻi, ʻōlelo Hawaiʻi. No leila. So aloha kākou. I am Ipolani Lu. I am originally from Oahu. I was raised everywhere. Moʻiliʻili, Makali, Waimanalo, Kaneʻohe. And I was raised by my grandma. So oftentimes she would take me with her to Maui. That's where she's from. And so our Maui ohana were located in Pokukalo. So I was fortunate to be able to be raised, yeah, by everybody really, and Tutu, and in different places across the Pai'aina. I graduated from Sacred Heart 95, and prior to that, I went to Kamehameha for elementary, then moved on to Sacred Heart after. Growing up, there were three of us, yeah, three of us hine, cousins, and I was the baby of them. And they're watching right now, so I'm so happy that they're here. But you know, because we were the three cousins that were the only ho'opuna in the family, they literally became my sisters. So I called them my sisters. And we were fortunate enough to have been able or afforded the opportunity to attend private school all our life. And that when we became makua, you know, it's usually the ano kana ono o ka makua is that we want our kids to have better, yeah, than us. And I remember telling my sister, sister, you and I are gonna be parents, yeah. We were afforded the education of private school from Mala'o, kindergarten, all the way up. We puka. How can you and I better that opportunity for our kids? And so it was automatic, no brainer. We're gonna hana yalako mauka olelo Hawaiʻi. Yeah. So we chose that they're gonna go to Hawaiian immersion. And so we come from a time where our grandmas were pure Hawaii, but they were part of that generation where they could not speak it. You know, they could understand some of the olelo, but they were part of that generation where they got reprimanded for oleloing. And so that's when me and my sister came in and we're like, you know what? No, that's a no-brainer. When we become makua, we are gonna send our kids to immersion. And it did. My role model was Princess Ruth Ke'eli Kolani. And she was, like how I said, yeah, like we all know her because we all remember her look, yeah. But behind that, she was a kupa'a leader that stood firm in the Olelo Hawaiʻi, yeah. You know, our ali'i, our lahui Hawaiʻi, smart people, yeah. And that, you know, our ali'i were fluent and well-versed in both Hawaii and Pelicania, yeah, in Hawaiian and English. So they were very well-educated. And within that, yeah, Ke'eli Kolani, she chose to kupa'i ka olelo. Like she chose to olelo Hawaiʻi anytime and every time she could. Was it a sign of haughtiness because there was the po'emalihini around her? No, not at all. I believe she chose to olelo Hawaiʻi because that was her olelo. Yeah. And elike me ka'u, yeah. Ho'a'o mako makahale e olelo Hawaiʻi na la'apo ina manapa apo oiai. A'ale I maopopo iki ko'u tutui ka olelo. I kona wai ka mali'i ana. No leila o keia ko kākou wā. Hiki no. Yeah. So this is the time that we have chosen to olelo Hawaiʻi and that we try to olelo every time and anytime we can. Mahalo.
That was wonderful. I am still learning. I'm a student, and I will always come from a student's point. But just very briefly, o Logan ko uina. Ayan na kala mai iaua ole mai ka uala Hawaiʻi. Kia one no wao I ka uala Hawaiʻi. Hello I ke kulanui o Hawaiʻi mama no o architecture ka umekia. So I major in architecture. I am still a student in Olelo Hawaiʻi. I've danced hula for many years, but my big epiphany in learning and being very passionate in Hawaiian language came much later. It's something that, came to me towards the end of high school, more so when I started to take hula a lot more seriously, and it was like, it's something that I can incorporate into architecture in my area of study. Some people that inspire me and my kumu, like I dance under Pohai Susa, who used to work at Sacred Hearts, and she's not only like just a kumu hula, but she's a historian, and she was always somebody who really admired and understood the importance of history and the importance of passing down so many stories. And so for that, that is my motivation, that is my constant inspiration in continuing my study. So thank you, Auntie Ipo, for an amazing introduction. I don't know how to follow that, but I'm gonna try my best. That is my short. Yeah.
Mahalo. Aloha mai kākou o nā pua Cassin Fisher ko ui noa no ka mana nui waialua mai au ma ka makupuni o Oahu. O ka ala ku'u mauna, o ka yaka ku'u kai, o ka upunahua ku'u ka Hawaii. Noho wau ma pa'ala'a ma hali'iwa I ke manawa, ma waina konu o hali'iwa me kaua nui. Ua puka mai ke kula ki'e o Sacred Hearts Academy ma ka makahiki iwa kālua yeah. Noho hana wau ma Ho'olelo kahi no ekolu makahiki. I can do olelo Filipino now. Aloha mai kākou. My name is Napua Cassin Fisher. I'm from Waialua, the ahukua of Kamananui, but I live in Hali'iwa, which is a part of Waialua, but in the ahukua of Pa'ala'a. I work for Olelo Kahi, the Native Hawaiian Health Board. We're a Native Hawaiian nonprofit that oversees Native Hawaiian health and the improvement of the health and well-being of Ralahui. I graduated from 2007 at Sacred Hearts Academy, and I went to UH Hilo and graduated from Kahaku'ula o Ke'elikulani in 2012. And then I graduated from UH Manoa in 2017 with my master's in public health in the Native Hawaiian and Indigenous Health specialty. We're in Ohana Punanaleo. My hiapo went to Punanaleo o Manoa a few years ago, and hopefully with our pepe, we'll be able to hanaho and ho'omau Olelo Hawaiʻi at Punanaleo. And ku'ume'e, when I got into the work of Hawaiian health, I learned not too long ago about Queen Emma na ea lelo na lani rook, and all of the work that her and her prane, who's Alexander Liho Liho, and all the work that they've done for our Lahui in terms of health and education and religion. Those were their three main focuses of work. And through their focus and passion in healthcare, the Queen's Health Systems was created, and we do a lot of work with Queens, and the Queen and King also was able to start a few schools like St. Andrew's Priory and Lahaina. So I mahalo them for forging the path of Native Hawaiian healthcare, and mahalo everyone for being here. I hope I answered the questions.
Thank you so much. Those were amazing responses. Just to kind of delve a little bit more deeper into your history in Olelo, Hawaiʻi, at what point were you first introduced? And do you feel that this puts you at an advantage or disadvantage in your fields and your connection to the language? I'll put this in the chat for you guys.
I can talk from a very novice and student perspective. Because I mean, I've danced hula for years, so being exposed to lelo Hawaiʻi was very, it was a constant thing. It just wasn't something for me that I was so focused on. It was something that I took for granted for a really long time. And then, so what point was I introduced to lelo Hawaiʻi? Probably very young. But when did I start to take it a lot more seriously is maybe sophomore, junior year of high school. It is when I started to understand how much I wanted to get into design, and not just design, like maybe not in the way that everybody understands architecture, but design for people and design for places. And like one of the most important things for me at the time as well as now is like design for Hawaii, and how we can kind of incorporate the community and the idea of like a local perspective, or just like a Hawaiian indigenous perspective into design, and I don't know, just how to create a stronger sense of place here. And then do you feel that this puts you at an advantage? I feel that this puts me at a huge advantage. Not just, I mean, studying architecture in Hawaii is a beautiful thing because it's nothing that you can parallel anywhere else. It's like the industry here is so different from what we would value on the mainland. And I think for that, because we have such a strong history and we have such a strong relation to our culture, I think like that's a huge advantage. And then having the privilege to be around so many people that know and are willing to share their stories is a beautiful thing. So I mean, all advantage, always an advantage. Did I wish I started earlier? Most definitely, because I think I'd be at a much different place now. But I mean, taking Hawaiian classes at UH definitely helps. And then also just continuing to ask questions and continuing to be just as open-minded as possible. Yeah, thank you.
Next. So I wasn't raised in an ohana that could speak Olelo Hawaiʻi. I think if I could choose a culture that I was raised in my ohana, it would be like plantation, a mix of all kind of things. So in the elementary that I went to, I was interested in what they called the Hawaiiana class. And the kumu there was really the first person in a succession of wahine in my life that that kind of fueled the passion in me and wanting to learn about Hawaiian culture and mo'olelo and language. And so when I was able to go to Sacred Hearts for 9th grade, they had Olelo Hawaiʻi with Kumulehua Kaiban. And I don't know how the language program is now, but at the time that I was there, it was a struggle to get enough haumana there to keep it going. And we would combine classes often, and the administration would pretty much every year say you guys don't really have enough haumana to keep going. But luckily, I could take it for all 4 years, and Kumulehua really valued taking us to Huaka'i and Malama'aina kinds of places. And so we were able to go to Poho'olave and Kalaupapa and other Lo'i and Lopui'a. And I was able to grow my aloha for Aina and Olelo, and catapulted me into UH Hilo. So that was kind of my mo'opu'auhau of Olelo, and I aloha all of the wahine and the kumu who pushed me along the way to where I am now and forward in the future.
Wa ho'olona ia wau I ka olelo Hawaiʻi I koʻu kamaliʻi, I koʻu wā kamaliʻi ma ka halo hula. Aka I ka piha ana iaʻu he ʻeiwa makahiki, ua ʻike leʻa wau, ua makemake wau e lilo I kumu olelo Hawaiʻi. And e like me ka ui olelo mua o koʻu, ma muli wale o ka hiki ole I koʻu tutu ke olelo Hawaiʻi, ma kona wai kamaliʻi ana oia ka ʻiʻini nui, I a nui ai I loko o. A me ke la he mea maikaʻi ke la. Ia a ale o ka mea maikaʻi oia ka hoʻomau ana, oia ka hoʻoulu ana, oia ka hoʻola ana I ka olelo Hawaiʻi I kela me keia la. Yeah, no lila. So I was first introduced to olelo Hawaiʻi at a fairly young age when I joined Halo. And then ka we had the temple kind Papa Olelo. And then at the age of 9 is when I kind of, bing, I think I want to be a kumu olelo Hawaiʻi at the age of 9. And just yesterday I asked my daughter, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she's like, I don't know. And she's 10. So anyway, so he po me ka ibali ka no ana I ko umake ya. So it was such a blessing to know that at that age of 9 is when I wanted to olelo. And again, it went back to because I knew that my grandma couldn't speak it. That's what I wanted to do, is to persevere that. And it's an advantage all the way around. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the VA. Back then they couldn't talk. So now we can. So there's no excuse why we shouldn't be learning. Yeah. So it's an advantage, mana anuapa. Mahalo.
Thank you. So you all kind of talked about different women, I guess, influences in your life. Logan talked about Hukumu, Sota Napua, and then Auntie Ipo talked about your grandmother. So I guess what I want to ask is, in your experience, how does female empowerment interplay with Hawaiian language revitalization?
Okay, going back to the top. Okay, I think so. From my perspective and my kumu, especially going into a very architecture is typically seen as a male-dominated industry. Right now it's beautiful, kind of 50-50, where I'm experiencing a lot of powerful women in architecture, but definitely having female leaders, especially in Hawaii, makes it a lot more peaceful to me. I think women in general in history, there's so many women symbolize peace and this beautiful way to empathize and communicate with not only just a general mass population, but just to be empathetic. We are empathetic and we are willing to help and understand people, no matter, regardless of the situation. And so having women be able to being able to be leaders, I guess, in this, in such a, I'm so sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but just having women leaders to look up to in general, I think it's an important and it's an inspiring thing, because taking it from anybody who's ever shared their knowledge or their stories. And whenever we reference these powerful and these influential women, we reference them with so much love and so much care. And I think that's like a perfect reflection on like what we want the future of Olelo Hawaiʻi and language learning and language revitalization to be. So I think that little off topic, but I think it's just a very important icon and it's very inspiring to have.
Mahalo wau I ka hele ana I ke kula o na pu'u waila a oia malela no wau ia oi a kupa ai I ka mea nui o nā wahine ma ke iau ola, ma ke iau I ka hiki nā wahine ke hana I like me ka ke kane. Ia no leila me ke la o ka mana wahine, ke to. O ka mana wahine, pili ke lahua o lelo, a ole o ka mana ma ke ano he I kaika. A ole o ka mana wahine, oia ka feminism. O ka mana'o, o ka hua'olelo maika'i I ko'u mana'o, o ka hua'olelo maika'i no ka ho'ike ana I ke kupa'a me ka ikaika o ka wahine, oia ka wahine toa, ai ole ka wahine poa. Ea, so o ko aiki ka mana'o o nā hua'olelo lua. No leila, ke ho'opuka kākou I ka hua'olelo o mana wahine, pili ke la I ka feminism, yeah? O ka strong woman, oia ka wahine poa, wahine toa, yeah? No leila, so I am thankful that I went to Sacred Heart, yeah, because coming from Kamehameha co-ed, going into Sacred Heart, all girls, I was like, hey, where's the Kanye over here? Because I was a tomboy, I had those guy friends, right? And so anyway, throughout my education at Sacred Heart, I was able to know the importance of women, the roles of women in society. Women can do the same thing as men. And it was kupa'a I loko o I ko'uhele ana I ke la kula. And it's never a poholalo in our kane. It's never to downside our kane, the kane in our life. But yet, to kind of ingrain in us and to instill in us that people, you can be anything you want to be. You want to be a contractor, be that contractor. You want to drive that bulldozer, go ahead. You know what I mean? Like hiki no kehana. And so when we look at mana wahine is feminism. Yeah, it. But again, yeah, it's not having to be all girly. No, it's being bold too. When we're talking about strength and the ikaika-ness, I guess, yeah, of a wahine, to me, it's better described as wahine toa or wahine koa, and so, but both, I mean, maika ina mea elua, na ho'olelo elua, because they are still peeling to what us as wahine can do, yeah. It's such a different world from before, yeah. And so, yeah. Olelo Hawaiʻi, that's one beautiful thing, yeah, is that Olelo Hawaiʻi, you can say one word and it means 5,000 things, yeah? Or you can do like one, like, look at that bright moon. We were just joking about this the other day. Like, oh, look at the bright moon. And it was bright daylight. And I looked at my friend and she was talking about a bowler-head guy walking by. You know what I mean? So like, mako olelo Hawaiʻi, hiki no ke olelo ilikmekalaya, like in olelo Hawaiʻi, that's the beauty. Because you can talk figuratively, very flowery, and nobody would know. Like already, like just to olelo Hawaiʻi, a lot of people don't understand. Now you want to talk, now you want to sing me a song, yeah, go ahead. It's so beautiful. That's why I'm saying, like olelo Hawaiʻi, you can say, kaulanana pua. It's really referring to our keiki, yeah, you know what I mean? So we have both that literal and the figurative, and it means the same thing. So, mahalo.
I think of all the questions that the group sent us, this was the one that I had the hardest thinking about how I was gonna answer it. But I think I'll go along with what Ipo was talking about in feminism. Some of the things that interested me in my master's program was like how to empower wahine, and I looked more deeply into halepe'a and how the halepa'a could be used as a model for mentoring young women with kupuna elders, hine, or with just makua, older women who would be able to mentor them and teach them. And so, funny story to me, maybe not funny for you, but in 2018, I think OHA, Office of Foreign Affairs, came out with a women's health report. And after they described what their findings were in the report, there was like a mixer at the end. And there was younger wahine than me, there was my age wahine, and then there was older and kupuna. And my age group, some of them were from Sacred Hearts too. We were sitting on a table and we're like, how do we get mentors? Like, you know, all of these wahine who are doing the research and who are leaders who we look up to, like how can they hanai us, and you know, so that we can learn from them. So we sat there and we seen all these wahine, and somehow we were brave and we asked them, can you guys hanai us and you know, mentor us? And a few months later came, and a group of wahine, one generation above us, got together, and then they remembered us begging them to mentor us, and they invited us into the group, and now we're a part of a small group called Nalawa Hina, the descendants or the kiki of the Akua Wahine Kina, and we do research in Akua Wahine, and we share mo olalo, practice olalo Hawaiʻi, and just kind of cross-sectionally learn from each other. So we have people in for-profit, non-profit, health, education, and I liken it to how it might be in a traditional halepa'a. And so female empowerment, mana wahine, feminism, I think really comes down to wahine uplifting each other, not bringing each other down, not being a bucket of crabs, pulling each other down to the bottom, but helping each other get out together is what I feel is women empowerment. And yeah.
Thank you guys. Those are wonderful responses as well. I kind of want to go back to what Logan said in the beginning about how you referenced, and also you too, Auntie Ipo, the importance of seeing yourselves in your teachers, and having the opportunity to forward your learning and forward your thinking. So this is directed to you, Auntie Ipo, this question, but please feel free, Napua or Logan, to answer. What role does the school system play in revitalizing, reinvigorating the Hawaiian language? And to add on to that, what would your ideal system be for teaching Olelo Hawaiʻi? I'll put that in the chat for you guys too.
Oh my gosh, my hair already hot maka. Where do I start? You know, o ka wai I ali ke okay o lelo no na kula apo. Koi vale o ke kula o na wahi o kalini o pu. Mako kula ola ka koi ka o lelo Hawaiʻi ya. O ka o lelo Hawaiʻi ko mako ka mako hana I nā la apo. E like me ka ui o lelo muai, you know, ua hoʻomaka ia ma ka waka I ka mena kupuna. You know, ma muli wale o ka hiki, ole ke o lelo, ua kuka, ke kai mau kanaka, hoʻomaka I ke kai papahana o lelo Hawaiʻi. No leila, ua lilo ka olelo Hawaiʻi I olelo kuhelu ma Hawaiʻi nei a ua maikaʻi a leila ua puka mai ka papahana o ka punana leo. O ka punana leo oia kahi pai kahua o nā kula kamaliʻi. A leila aia ina makua ina makemake lako ina keiki e hoʻomau I ka olelo Hawaiʻi I ka papahana I ka hele kula olelo Hawaiʻi a pela wale aku. I keia mau la, that's why e like me ka ui I olelo ai, a'ale hiki ke olelo, a'ale hiki, yeah. Hiki no, ina aia ka ini I loko o kākua po e ho'omau I ka olelo Hawaiʻi, e hana ana me ka no'ono'o ole, yeah. E hana ana me ka ini nui, I keia mau la, hiki no ke lohe, a puni o kākou, hiki no ke ike, ina hele o ko ma hilo nei, I mean, just lohe pine I ka olelo Hawaiʻi ma waho o ke kula. Aia no ka, he koho ma ke kula ke eke o na puʻuwailaʻa, he koho o lelo Hawaiʻi. He make ano he, he koho papa o lelo, paha. Ka ia koe hele kula ana ahe, ua pono, ua hiki wale wau ke koho kepani, paniolo, palani, o ia wale na. A lela I ke maula, hiki no ke maluna o ka puna e wele, imi, wiki, na ike pili o ke iao, no lela. So, it still goes back to our waku puna, because they couldn't speak, boom, a hui of Kumu had come together and see, what can we do to bring back the olelo Hawaiʻi? And so, with that kuka, they were able to establish the punana leo. Punana leo is our preschool, yeah, that was made for that. It was to revitalize that olelo and ho'omaka me ke la pai, yeah. Start with our keiki because they are like sponges, yeah. They take it all in. And maoka olelo Hawaiʻi wale no I kela me ke ia la. That just by repetition and just immersing themselves in the olelo Hawaiʻi, that's exactly how our olelo came back, yeah. And that from there, just going through the whole legislature and then our olelo being an official language, then everything just kind of blossomed from there. Today we really have no excuse, yeah. If that desire in us is there to olelo, then we can do it. It can be heard, it can be seen everywhere. We can go on the web and internet and get information just like that. When Napua was talking about her kumu, olelo Hawaiʻi ma na puʻuwailaʻa, that was kumu lehua, she's my hoʻopapa, she's my classmate, she's even my hula sister. And so now you guys are so blessed to even have that as a choice, yeah. I only could choose from Japanese, Spanish and French. I mean, I appeal here, what my kai. But if only we had Hawaiian language back then, it'd be great. But you know what? I'm not gonna even grumble because now we do, yeah. And so that's the Maikai thing, yeah. We cannot really do anything about our Wakahiko. What can we do from now until then, yeah? And from now until the future. My ideal, again, my ideal system to me, it already exists. And again, yeah, kalame, because I live out makimake e ho'oio, yeah, I ka inoa o ke kula o nā wahi o ka leni o puʻui. I'm not here to boast, yeah, about ke kula o nā wahi, it is, to me, my ideal system already exists, yeah, and that I'm so thankful for because it's a school that is centered around ohana, yeah. That's another thing, yeah. In our kula kaya olelo and punana leo, it's not just to drop off the keiki and then go and then come back, pick them up and then go home. It's the papa hana ohana, yeah, and that it is very involved. You know what I mean? Like the importance of ohana is like the core of our papa hana olelo Hawaiʻi, yeah, and so it already exists. Yeah, an ideal system is one that we hold Pico every day. And the Pico is basically to make sure that we're all makauko. Yeah, are we all ready for the day? Yeah, not just the kumu, not just the haumana, but everybody. So we all gather one wahi and we're all exchanging the Mele, oli, we do pule, you know, ha'i o lelo, which is the start of the day. We have the kane, we have the hine. Yeah, so that is the pico. That's how we're gonna start our day. Now the day has started, we're gonna continue, and then we're gonna do all our papas, you know. We have indoor papas, like regular class, and then we also have those papas where they go outside. Makahana ka ike, yeah, because not everybody is the same kind of learner. And so, you know, it kind of I guess facilitate, yeah, the harmona of different learning abilities. And that also, you know, when our harmona puka, when they graduate, they're graduating as multilingual because of course they are oika olala Hawaii and they mahope oika olala pelkania, yeah. So Hawaiian and English is given in our school. They are also introduced to Latin, Japanese, and Chinese. We are only, I believe, in the second year of Chinese. And you know, these kumu, they teach these languages in Hawaiian, you know, and so I mean, I can't get more ideal than that, yeah, because that was like never heard of before. Um, and then you go into the high school section. So my son is a freshman this year. Next year, when he's a sophomore, his class will be the first to go to Kulanui. They will be able to go to college here at UH Hilo and to receive both college and high school credits. So by the time they graduate 12th grade, they'll already have a bunch of credits under their belt. You know what I mean? So to me, like that's my ideal system. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna get all emotional. I'm getting emotional because again, yeah, in my law, now I'm not a dinosaur, but even though I call myself a dinosaur because I'm not, you know, too akamai in this hana, in this you know, computer world, because I'm yeah, but I'm, you know, I'm not that ancient. but in our va, you know, in our schooling years, we never have these opportunities, yeah. And so for me to see, um, you know, again, Latin, Japanese, Chinese, and this is like in the elementary section, yeah. And you know what I mean? So by the time they hit high school, they go in college during high school, like, huh, you know? And so that's why I'm saying, like, that is my ideal. And I cannot, you know, hey, po may kaibale, like it's just blessings upon blessings. And that soon you know it, yeah, it's gonna ho'omo to the other schools too, not just with us here in Hilo.
Thank you, Auntie Ipo. We already have a couple of questions asking you more about immersion education, so we will get to this later on. Oh, I've never heard of that. That's amazing. But just to switch gears, we're going to head on over to health and well-being. So Napua, when we were talking earlier, she kind of shared with me that she, for the past 3 years, is involved in the Native Hawaiian Health Board. So could you just tell us, oh, actually, oh, I didn't change my question. 1 second, I'm gonna read from here. With your position as a training coordinator for the Native Hawaiian Health Board, could you describe for us what this position entails and how you incorporate Olelo Hawaiʻi into it? I will put this in for you.
My position is education and training coordinator, and it is, you know, kind of a catch-all department, but the main thing that I do is coordinate and plan and provide educational opportunities for professional development for our staff in my office at Popo'ololokahi for the 5 Native Hawaiian healthcare systems that are located or serves each county, and then also for the Native Hawaiians on the continent. And it all kind of varies in what types of trainings that each of these groups need. I support the community health workers that are in our systems, and their trainings range from chronic disease management to community engagement, research, and for the outreach on the continent. Right now, the thing that the Hawaiians up there are mostly interested in is cultural workshops, Olelo Hawaii classes, And it always surprises a lot of people when we say we do that, because like how does learning Hawaiian basics and the hakalama equate to health and well-being for Hawaiians? And it's just, it's just helping people who are unfortunately away from our aina, from their people, to reconnect to other Hawaiians, or to mo'olelo, or to aina. And it really brings in a sense of pride when we go there, and they're able to recall stories that their kupuna shared, or they can make the connection of, oh, somebody always called me this. This is my Hawaiian name. This is what it means. Sometimes they don't. They weren't shared the story of their name. It starts a lot of questions and curiosity for them, and it usually expands into more interest, from Olala Hawaiʻi to Mo'oku Auhau research. And yeah, so we do that for the continent. We also have been doing Olala Hawaiʻi classes for our other partners. So we work a lot with like Department of Health and Hawaiian civic clubs, and other kinds of health organizations. And there's a lot of interest that has been stirred up in the past 2 years, but definitely in 2020 because of the increase of availability, with the online classes, with the Instagram, with e ho'opili mai, all kind different ways that people can access Olala Hawaiʻi. And I think people who maybe was shamed a little bit to ask or to search it out for themselves have an easier access to learning. And so some people who I thought wasn't interested, they're coming to our classes, short, like 1 hour classes that we started in February from Mahina Olala Hawaiʻi. But last year we had a series, and the year before that. But it's nice to see different kinds of people in different jobs valuing Olala Hawaiʻi and seeing its importance. And so we're just trying to offer more classes for anybody who's interested. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Napua. Speaking of incorporating Olelo into different jobs, Logan, so you kind of have an interesting job because you have to translate something that is like language. It's something you can't really see into something you can see, something that is structural. So our question for you is, in what ways have you already or are planning on incorporating Olelo Hawaiʻi into your architecture projects?
Oh, okay. So I think that, okay, I love this question. I love talking architecture. So with a lot of projects comes with having to understand the community that you're designing for, understanding the people and understanding the historical context of like not only the site, but the community. And so designing in Hawaii and having having projects with a base on Hawaiian environments and Hawaiian communities, it's almost completely parallel. Thinking about it, language is culture, right? Language and history is all a basis of culture. And I think that's why I admire Auntie Ipo and Auntie Napua so much, is because they have this worldly view with such a strong Hawaiian foundation. And that's something that I had taken for granted for so many years. And like being I'm a more active student now that I can apply it to architecture and to design. I overlooked it for so long because when you're surrounded by so many different things, sometimes like for me, I was just tunnel vision to college because I knew I want to design, I want to build, and then like this is how I get from point A to point B. But then like with understanding Hawaiian culture and language, now my projects and my idea of architecture and design has so much depth. It adds backing and adds meaning. And when you present these topics and you present these designs to, whoever it may be, they're going to understand that that's the passion that I have, is the passion to like to design for people and to design with a stronger sense of place. It has a, I mean, it carries a heavier meaning. It gives design purpose when you understand language and when you understand history. And although I'm very novice when it comes to, I'm very new to this entire, like, I mean, Hawaiian community and practicing lelo Hawaiʻi, especially like in my day-to-day life, it's always something that I want to learn and expand on. And it's like very humbling to be a part of. And so, I mean, okay, going back to the question, how do I plan on incorporating it more into my architecture projects, is just by learning and being a student, being an lelo Hawaiʻi student, because I mean, there's always going to be more there. And the more I learn, the more relevant it becomes, you know. It's understanding the people and understanding the reason behind designing, which is to better a community, to better the people, and to have them really their voices and their hearts to be in a place that they feel they're comfortable, and in a place that they feel that they belong. So that's a big spiel, but I mean, it's just that love for people and place in a nutshell.
Mahalo for that. That was such an amazing answer. I like how you incorporate olelo Hawaiʻi into your jobs. One of the general questions that we had, and I think it's so important, especially for those just starting to learn about olelo Hawaiʻi. In what ways can individuals go about normalizing olelo? So I don't know who wants to take it, but that's a really good question. I love that idea, and that actually came from Erica. So if Erica wants to speak on that.
Hi, Kalamai Hayden. If I can just sort of like introduce and give context for that. I wrote it down because I want to get this right. O erika ko inoa, ke au ne au nei I ka olelo Hawaiʻi ma hope mai ka o ka kopa I ka makahiki aku nei. Aka still so much to learn and to practice. And one thing that my kumu ka hanuola solatorio no e hoʻopili mai always says is a ka olelo mai hila hila. Aka he malihini me haumana hema hema. And so no ka mea, I kind of feel nervous about using olelo Hawaiʻi in a day-to-day space, like kind of imposter syndrome a little bit, but also afraid of being wrong. And so that gets to my question of, so what can new haumana especially, and also malihini do to help normalize olelo Hawaiʻi in a way that is not claiming something that is not theirs, but also helping to eola ka olelo.
I would love to hear everybody's responses, because that's how I feel. I know exactly what you mean, where I went back and I'm at UH now. I'm a 201 student, and I would love to, as much as I would love to learn and understand, I do come across that fear every once in a while, but I mean, for me, it's just that idea is like, I always preface with the fact that I'm a student. I tell everybody that. I'm like, you know, my Hawaiian is not going to be the best, but I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a solid go. And so I don't know if that would help you, but like, for me, it just kind of, it was my preface. It was like, I come as a student's perspective, and I know that my knowledge right now is limited, but I'm open-minded to whatever mana'o you guys have, or whatever that you can share with me. So it's that kind of, for me, it's a preface that you can just kind of splur out before. And then it kind of gives the people a little bit of oh, okay, good. I can go ahead. We can talk, we can try, we can learn. Like it brings people in a little bit of a lighter idea of mindset. But that's me.
Lohe wau I ka olelo no e au a ka ukumu ma ke kula no e au hilo. Ma ka waa kai e kau ai ma ka paiki kala pākiki. Yeah, kau ho ha ule eha, kau ho ha ule eha ke kino. Ho'omau, ho'omau, ho'omau. I loko o ke kai wā e maana. Yeah, no leila, like hoi ke lamana o me ka olelo Hawaiʻi. Ina aia ka I ini nui I loko e o o e olelo, e a'o, e ho'omau, yeah, mai hopo i ka hema, a kano na ea, ke olelo Hawaiʻi, yeah, hopo nui like, oh my God, ua olelo polole kela, a'ole paha, yeah, e no na e, ke ho'omau ia ka olelo Hawaiʻi, e ho'o I kai ka puana, ka olelo, ho'omau, mai ha'awi pio, yeah, I nā ha'awi pio ka koi ka olelo Hawaiʻi, a he olelo, he a ka vai o ka olelo, o ia ka ho'omau, yeah, ha'ule I hola kuhau I luna ho'omau, oia ka mana o ka ai ka olelo, yeah, ho'omau kupa'a, you know, I ko'u wā e hele kula nui ana, ua hema loa ka olelo. Trust me, ua hema loa. Ua pupuka loa ho I ka olelo, and ua na'a le namu pai. Ua olelo mau na kumu ia'u. Ipo, no, a'ale pela e olelo e. You know, and so ua hema, you know, ua hila wau, you know, I nā wae, malama ia ka ha'i olelo, a'ale pa maki iki e olelo e ha'i olelo ma mo ka papa, e no na e, ua pono ya, he koina papa, a kano na e. Ya, e like me ka ui olelo ai, ho'omau. Ha'i olelo ma mua ke anaina, pono mako e ha'i olelo ma ka piko, you know, ma mua o na hoa kuhu, na haumana, I ke ia wa ke lea'o, pono e nana I ke, I ka pa'i wikio, ha'i olelo, no leila, ale maopopo ia'u o waila ho'i e nana mai ia'u ia, no leila, so, to a'ai ka olelo, it's just like I can hear my kumu reminding me, it's just like riding a bike, yeah. The first time we get on that bike, we are like wiggly. We're gonna fall, we stand up, hana ho, yeah. We're gonna get back on that bike and haul a couple more. Fall, get back up, hana ho, yeah. My ohana can tell you, I never learned how to ride bike until 12. Okay, my two little bratty brothers, Kiala and Kiola, they always used to hold hand in me. They always used to make fun. Oh my gosh, Sean, you're 12 years old. Can I even ride bike? That's how I feel. Like just with the olalo too, yeah. When I went to Kulanui, my olalo was hema lower. And okaha'i olalo oya kamea ma'amo. Like you had to ha'i olalo, like ha'i olalo for everything. And I was so ashamed because a lot of them, you know, well, they have to correct their people. And so for them to correct you is like, you know, but you know what? We need to be open to constructive criticism. Yeah, we cannot take it to offense that like, oh, Kumu doesn't like me. No, ole. You know what I mean? Because ina ole ho'oponopono ia, ina ole ho'i kaika ia, then ea o ana kākoe ka mea hewa, yeah. If we are not corrected, then we're only going to be saying the wrong things, yeah. And the more we do that, we're going to pass that on to the keiki and the hanona after. In 10 years, it's going to be like totally hema, you know what I mean? So my thing is like just ho'omau, you know, don't give up, you know, because if we do give up, then who are we going to have left, yeah, in the future to carry on the olalo to our keiki? Ho'omau.
Yes, that's great, Mana'o. Ho'omau and ho'oma'ama'a is important to normalize. I think in the age of social media, sometimes I feel like it's more scary now because people criticize, you know, like with ino, not with aloha, and makes you feel if you say something wrong or different that that you shouldn't be trying, that you're doing it all wrong, that you got your information from somewhere else. And I've seen a few videos here and there of people who teach, you know, like Kaiulu Kain Olalo, and people come at them in secret Instagram accounts saying, you're doing it wrong. That's not how so and so says it. That's not how this school says it. But if that person or that IG handle doesn't offer these olalo, then that's one less person teaching their following. There's one less person teaching their ohana and practicing it in their ohana. So I think one part to help to normalize is to have aloha for each other, to criticize with aloha. You don't have to make somebody feel less than when you correct them. Just say, oh, this this is the you gotta use, or this is actually the word that you gotta use instead of this one, and whatever, rather than belittling them. And I think when we show aloha, we give aloha, we accept aloha. That's when people will feel more comfortable making mistakes and then correcting it, and then we're all gonna get better in the end.
Mahalo iā nā kumu.
I love that mana'o about how we can start to normalize olelo. And I especially like what Auntie Ipo said about kupa'a olelo. In my Makaiki Olelo Hawaiʻi class last year, our theme of the year was kupa'a olelo. And you know, that resonates with me. We got hoodies that say kupa'a olelo, and every day we would just come and hui kama ilio, so just talk to each other in Hawaiian. And it was the basic things like going from hiki a uke heli kalua, can I use the restroom? And that kind of just basic things, and just getting into the practice of using olelo. And another thing that Auntie Napua said, which really stuck out to me, is criticizing with aloha. So one thing that my papa always taught me is there's no wrong way. One thing you can do is look at how your kupuna taught you, or how you were taught. And there's no telling that maybe my kupuna said that the word for phone is kelepona, but someone else said it's a different word. It's not wrong, it's just different ike kupuna. So that's another thing that really relates to what Auntie Napua said. And I really like all the mana'o that was shared today. We are slowly coming to the close of our evening. We are officially ending at 6 o'clock. But however, I have spoken to all of our presenters, and they are graciously extending their time. And if you guys are able to, we can stay after the Zoom or after the official end time at 6 o'clock to answer questions or talk story, whatever you guys feel comfortable with. I know for those of you that have to leave at 6, we will make sure to get our group picture before everyone can leave, and as well as anything else that might need to be shared. I just want to say, as we come to our close, mahalo nui to all of the people who have made today possible. Mahalo to our YA organizers and supporting nonprofit organizations. Mahalo to our three presenters, Auntie Ipo, Auntie Napua, and Logan, for taking your time to share all of your ike about Olelo Hawaiʻi. And most importantly, we would like to thank all of you for coming out. I know it's a Saturday night and we all could be doing something totally different. We could be watching movies, doing something else, but you chose to be here to kupa'a olelo, and you are helping us to normalize our olelo by coming here, learning the ike, and sharing your mana'o and hearing mana'o shared to us. So for those that have to leave, I would like to ask our three presenters if they have any closing mana'o. And after we officially close, then we can go on for Q&A after closing mana'o from our speakers.
Just thank you guys. Thank you, Auntie Ipo and Napua, for your knowledge and your responses. I loved it. I learned a lot today. So thanks, guys.
I'm so very happy to have been able to be on a panel with all Sacred Hearts alumni. It's nice to come together. It's nice to hear what other haumana have been able to go on and do. And it's always so different, and especially to see how Olelo Hawaiʻi can be used in all different realms. Not to say that, of course, being a kumu isn't an amazing job, but I think a lot of times people think a kumu is the only option. And from what I remember in high school, that's what everybody kept telling me is, do you want to be a kumu? Because that's what you're going to be if you're going to do Olelo Hawaiʻi. You can't go to the continent and speak Hawaiian with a job. But things have changed. Things are continually changing, and you can be an engineer and have to be valued as a Hawaiian speaker and a kumu and a mahua. So I'm appreciative of these haumana who brought us together and created this cohort for Ho'omau, Ho'ikaika, Olelo Hawaiʻi.
Can you guys hear me? I was just like frozen for like a good 3 seconds. I'm like, they're kicking me off. Anyway, anyway, mahalo nui no ke kono ana mai ui ke ia aha. I loko no ko u makahiki, mau no ka haalulu I loko o. Alebo maa I kaha I olelo ma mua kia naina nana akano na e. E ho'o ka koi ka olelo, hiki no ke olelo, e ola ka olelo Hawaiʻi, e ola ka olelo Hawaiʻi, a kano na e o ka unina ia o kou, he a kau e hanai no ka ho'ola ana I ka olelo. Yeah. Hiki no ke olelo ke kahi, a kano na I nā ale hana me ke la olelo a ale holo mua. Yeah. So anyway, mahalo nui for this invite. No matter how old I get, I'm still very ha'alulu when I'm having to speak in front of people. Yeah, still nervous, Hawaiʻi. But I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Yeah, hopefully that, if we have some Haumana Olelo Hawaiʻi that's in here, that is like, oh, shall I not? Hey, go for it. And again, yeah, just like how Erica mentioned, yeah, we don't have to be ha'alulu if we are wondering, yeah, like, oh, am I saying it right? Mai hopo poi kala. Yeah. O ka mai ka I o ka ho'a o ana I ka olelo. Ina aole ho'a o a he bai. Yeah. So I hope that we all continue to ho'omau I ke ia olelo and that we actually match up our word to our action and that we can pai encourage everybody or any other speakers out there that wanna ho'omau I ka olelo.
Mahalo nui. So at this time, if you're comfortable, but we would really love if you could turn your cameras on. We want to take a big group pictures that we can add it to our website and our Instagram. So if you feel comfortable, please turn your cameras on. And then I'll take a screenshot once we're all ready. Okay, kahi, lua, kolu, smile. Okay, mahalo, I got it. So at this time, we're gonna open up to Q&A. I have had some to come to me in the chat. So for those that chatted, both any one of us, myself, Anna, Ifit, or Ella, if you guys want to speak up and ask your question, you can. If not, we will share it for you. But yeah, Q&A. We have seen some amazing presenters in front of us, and we would all love to learn from each other. So I'll start it off. One of the questions that came to me was, oh, Kalamai, where did it just go? Should Olelo Hawaiʻi, or do you believe that Hawaiian language should be taught beyond Hawaii, or should it just stay in Hawaii?
I'll answer that. Yes, Hikino. Yeah, and you know what? The more farther our Olelo can go in the world, the better. Yeah. So we don't, and that's one thing with me, because, I knew that I wanted to become a Kumu Olelo Hawaii at a young age. Of course, at that time, and even like not recent, just recently, that I figured, oh man, it's just gonna stay here, But our Olelo, you know how many Ohana and friends we have living in Vegas? Yeah, choke in the like in the state period, and then now our musicians and hello go to Japan, everywhere, guys. So it's there. So can it thrive out there? Of course it can. So hit it.
Queen, you said it all. Just amen. Whatever she said. I mean, straight up. I mean, I guess it gives everybody a worldly view. It expands everybody's knowledge in either way. I mean, it gives us a greater presence, especially as like a community. Then it also it gives everybody an idea and an opportunity to like be a part of whatever we have here. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So, yes, Auntie Ipo, everything you said, 100%.
And as a follow-up to that, how long before you think somebody could be a kumu of Hawaiian language?
Um, I'm gonna laugh because I was a lifetime student. It took me forever just to get my BA. But you know, technically, you go to school and then they have so whether you go to Manoa or Hilo, but I'm not familiar with Manoa, but here in Hilo, you take your prerequisite and then you get your BA, do your BA, and then from there you can choose to go into the Papahana Oakumu, which is the teacher certification program, and there's two of them. So here at Hilo, we have the English medium one that you can get certified for elementary and secondary, or you go into the Hawaiian one now because we have some kumu olelo Hawaii who went into the English one for whatever reason, and then we have Kahua Viola, which is the Hawaiian medium teacher program that is given every summer. And so all you have to do is do your summer, we call it boot camp, because it's like from early morning to late at night every day for 6 weeks during the Kauvela, during the summer. And then they do a 1 year practicum in a kula, and then if it's successful, they graduate, they get their pala pala, and they can become a kuolala. So it can be as less than as maybe 5 years, 4.5, 5, yeah, about 5 years until, you know, however long. You know, life happens, yeah, along the way. So it depends. But yeah, like that.
And as a follow-up, I got a message in the chat to that can anyone be a kumu olelo Hawaii? Like not like officially in a school teaching with your bachelor's degree and stuff like that. Can you just go to your friend and teach olelo, or should you wait till it's an official olelo Hawaii class?
When I went to college, I didn't go into the teacher track. I don't call myself a kumu, but I'm able to provide lessons to those who are attending the class. I think anybody can be a kumu. A keiki and punanaleo can be a kumu and teaching their mapua, the hakalama, and how to halu halu at that very young age, makula Hawaii. So I think if you're confident that you're passing on the correct kuana and the correct information, teach your friend, teach your mom, teach your mapua, teach your tutu who maybe never was able to learn. You can even start, like your first month of olalo. Practice hakalama with them. That makes you a kumu. Technically, you're teaching them.
That, or for me, I also do a lot of reading and research. So maybe like even like finding sources together, or like if you know reliable sources, then passing on those sources, or passing on people to like refer to or to ask questions to, then it becomes a learning experience together. And I think that's something that I really enjoy to do with my hoa. It's always a fun time, So, I mean, yeah, if you make it like a community thing, if you make it like a, hey, let's go learn, like then everybody's gonna want to do it. It's good, and it adds to it. So.
Okay, my bad. Hayden and I were like eyeing each other like, oh, you going? Okay, I'll go. So this is actually one of the questions we wanted to wrap everything up with, but it's actually super relevant to everything you've said today about perpetuating for the future for the next generation and making it a learning experience. So for all of our wonderful speakers, our question to you is, how will Olelo Hawaii help to build a resilient Hawaii? In any topic, like culture or spiritual or anything really. Give us your knowledge.
for me, it who we are, our lahui, it who we are. It in our koko, and even for the kanaka koko ole, it does, there's no difference really, it's just that you have no cocoa, but if you have the ini in there, that's great. Um, but it, um, you know, like for me to here at church, yeah, in our halepule, I was blessed to be able to be one of the, I guess, kanaka olala Hawaii that can translate our songs from English to Hawaiian. So is it limited to just one ma'i'o? Not at all. Yeah. It That's basically what it is. Like it's who we are, and if we can use it um during any time through any ma'i'o, and like how I said, yeah, like I've been blessed to be able to unuhi the song to translate our hymn into Olala Hawaii. And so that's a blessing in itself. I mean, and that's my au uhane side of it. It's not always the au kino, but even the spiritual side, we can always give in that form too. So that's been my contribution lately too.
I agree. I'm gonna build on that. It is the people. It's us, and like it's not. I mean, not. It's everybody. It's not just a generational thing. It's not just if you're from Hawaii. It's not if you're fluent and that's a beautiful thing and that's what I want to learn. That's what the people I look up to. But it's also like the people that are willing to learn and the people that are open minded to it. I mean, it brings a stronger sense of community. And like I've always found that even I mean when life gets hard, architecture, school, whatever, it gets hard. And then I found that whenever I have to look for or I'm at a loss of any sort of knowledge or any point in my life, then I go back to hula because that's where I get to hear my kumu and where I get to hear the people that want to be there. It's about surrounding yourself with people that are willing to continue and practice the culture and the language. And it's a beautiful thing, and that's what makes Hawaii so strong and resilient is that willingness to learn and that open-mindedness.
Hello, my what was that, Nina? I had a surprise visitor outside.
So we're saying, how does Olalo Hawaii, how can using Olalo Hawaii help us to build a more resilient Hawaii?
I wish I heard their answers. I'll watch it in the recording. One of the things that we do at POL, my job, we convene the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander COVID recovery team. So bringing Native Hawaiian, Tongan, Samoan, the different islands of Micronesia together to make sure that they're represented in the response and recovery plans for COVID, because we're not represented in the data. We're always grouped together with other groups that hide our health disparities, and all of the resources are normally just in English. But in the past year and in the work that we've been doing together, one of the the priorities when information comes out is to make sure that it's in language. And so Hawaiian is our official language, so prioritizing that all these documents and all of these resources are Makulala Hawaii, as well as the other Polynesian and Micronesian languages. So I think we're well on our way. I think that being at the table has been very beneficial for all of for Native Hawaiians, for the Lahui, but also for other minorities. And I think just having more Olelo Hawaii speakers, we're able to read New Pepa, unlock all of those mo'olelo that perhaps we weren't able to access and see gather the ikepuna and incorporate that into our life and our well-being, and then pass that forward to the next generation, and that provides a sense of resiliency and sustainability.
Mahalo for that. So I just want to preface to say, everybody, it is now 6:04. We are officially Paul with our Zoom. But however, if you guys need to go, no shame, my hila, just mahalo for coming. But if you want to still stay on Talk Story with our amazing panelists, that option will still be there. And feel free to unmute your mic, type it into the chat to everyone. If you have any questions, we do have some guiding questions that we came up with before the Zoom to keep the conversation going, but we would love to hear your guys' questions for our panelists.
I just want to say thank you so much. This was a great experience. Thank you for all your knowledge and the time and effort you guys put into this. It was great. But I have to go, but thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a great night.
I kind of wanted to follow up Hayden's question earlier about like, can any well, was it Hayden? Yes, it was Hayden. Can anyone be a kumu? Like, and this is kind of tying it back to Kumu Ipo's response to a question earlier about her ideal education system. How do we make that more accessible? How do we make Olelo Hawaiʻi more accessible to, you know, public school students, and, you know, people who are off island, you know, people who aren't as connected to, you know, their native culture, or just a culture that they find, you know, beautiful, and they want to, you know, find a way to connect with.
You know, we have Olelo Hawaiʻi opportunities that on all platforms, and if anything, like it is easily accessible through the Punai Vele, through the internet. Yeah, there's Oiwi TV. There's everything on there. There's Uluko. You can look up Uluko, and on Uluko they have like a collection of books there, like online books from, I think it's kindergarten all the way up. There's old newspaper articles in there. There's one part in Uluko called Kani Aina, which are interviews with one of my kumu here, Larry Kimura, and all the mana leo, or the kupuna, that they used to have on KCCN radio in Honolulu, like back in the bar. And so that you can look up that Uluko, OED TV, look up vehevehe.org. I'll go ahead and put, oh yes, mahalo nui. Mahalo, Erica. Yeah, and then the vehevehe.org or vehevehe wiki, which is the online dictionary. Yes, look in your chat. We've got the champion of champions, Erica. She wrote it all in there. So it is easily accessible. I think you just have to know where to look. Yeah.
Auntie, how did you know my next Ha'iolelo was based on what Tutulilia and Victor and the interview by Larry Kimura? We have to do our speech on that. Who would have thought? Because that was one of the hardest things for me, was trying to get the pronunciation down. I'm clearly not a native speaker, so that is just that is like next level for me. And oh my gosh, yeah, Uluka was amazing. I've hyped that up 100%.
So a question that I really wanted to ask, I know I'm not an attendee, but I was still really curious, was this is directed towards Logan, but of course, like the other speakers are welcome to chime in too, because I know that this is something that's relevant to all of you. But I wanted to ask, how has your feminism evolved as you pursue your career and learn more about Olelo Hawaiʻi?
Oh, okay. So I started working, the anecdote, small story, but I started working at a development firm, I think. However old you are at 15, I don't know, sophomore, freshman year of high school. I knew I wanted to be an architect the same way as people wanted to be a kumu. I, I started from an early age. And I don't know if anybody remembers Mrs. Bannigan, but she was the one who put the idea in my head back in 5th grade. And she was like, you will be an architect. And I was like, I will be an architect. Like, it was just one of those things where you just kind of, you grow into it, you know, and then like later on in life, you understand there's reason why I want to be an architect. But then I go into this development firm and it is clearly very old school. And that is, I mean, it's something that isn't necessarily, I mean, it's not a bad thing because all of the, I mean, I work at a place that has housing management, it has development. So you have people stronger in the STEM field, the architects, the engineers, they all are men. They are all on one side. All of the high administrators are on one side. And I am by default going into the accounting, the housing management, which is on an entirely different side of the office. Something I was not at all aware of at the time, something that like, I mean, these people also, they are of a different generation and that is at no harm to them and they don't understand it either. Like, it's just a natural thing. It just happened to be that the certified architect and the certified engineer are men. Those are the ones that they've hired. And it is a family business, so it just happened that way. But it's something that for me going into it, and they asked me, what are you going to do when you get into college? And I'm like, I'm going to be an architect. And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, no, I'm going to be an architect. And so that's that point, that's that pivotal moment for me that, you know what, I believe in women. I believe that, you know what, and that's a beautiful thing at Sacred Hearts. Like they've said before, is that like, you believe you can do anything because we can, you know, it's like you want something, you go get it. And it's not going to be handed to you. And that was something that I learned so easily and so quickly from where I worked. And like, whether it was asking for a raise because I just learned how to do that recently, to negotiating, to understanding how business works, because it's not always going to be the same for men as it is for women. And even though the ground isn't level, it doesn't give us any less of an excuse to go get what we want, you know? And so like, yeah, I am a huge supporter for this whole like feminist idea, feminist movement, but it's also not at all like a drawback. It's not an excuse. It's something that, it's a motivation. You know what I mean? I think people are going to be like, oh no, it's because like women aren't paid enough. Women aren't like, we don't have a capacity, like we're too emotional. People are not going to hire on women because we're going to have children. They're going to have to worry about us leaving on maternity. It's not always about that. It's, I have this, and this qualifications, and that's why I believe that I can come and make money for your company. And so like for that, it totally changed the playing field for me, because now I work for the same company, but I have a different motive. I'm going to push my way into development meetings, whether they like it or not. Like I'm going to sit in the back and I'm going to take notes and I'm going to understand what they're going to understand, like what they're presenting one day, you know? And even though that I have my commitment to housing management and the other side of the office, it's 10 times more a motivation for me to go out and to understand, like to give them the time that they want in housing management, but also take that extra time to learn what the architect is doing. You know, it's a very heated topic for me. I love this. I love this question because, I mean, it was something that I was passive and overlooked before, and it's something that I want to push so hard right now, because for the women that are going into STEM or the women that are going into design, it's not going to be easy, but if you want it, you have to just do it. And it's not going to be handed to you, and never expect it to, because, and it's 10 times more rewarding when you go and get it yourself. Like, yeah. Anyway, that was exciting.
I'm gonna go through our questions. Oh, if anyone has any questions, any more not speakers, attendees, do you have any more questions for our wonderful speakers? Because if not, I'm not joking. We have prepared questions, so we're good on that end if you guys want to chime in.
I'm really enjoying your questions. And you have such great questions that I want to hear your questions and then what they respond to your question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jason. I will do just that as I okay, let me look. I chose all my favorite ones. Team, do you guys have any favorites you want to include?
So one of the questions that we wrote, and I'm also expanding on, is to in your experience, what is the easiest way to learn olalo? Is it through going through lessons? Is it doing your own research in a textbook? Going over new pepper? Because a lot of my kumu, they have so many varied answers. One of my kumu, she loves listening to the Kui Kamanaleo recordings that was mentioned earlier. But some others, they just would rather just stay on vehe vehe and just research and look up different vocab words. So what is the easiest way for you guys to learn olalo?
I like to talk about it and listen to Auntie Ipo because she's been doing amazing. I mean, you both have like, it's about listening. I think for me, I have to listen to it to understand it. You have to experience it. Yeah, I'm a very hands-on experience learner. So anything very like in person or like where I have an action associated with it, then it works out.
At UH Hilo, from Makayuki Ekahi, like you just have to olelo valeno, or else you're gonna be scolded by the kumu. And as nerve wracking as that was, that really makes everybody like level up in their olelo and make us more comfortable. And since I graduated and didn't have that level of conversation with people around me, my olelo kind of reverted down to like a punanaleo level because that's who we were around with most is the keiki o punanaleo and then the makua who are learning. So being in immersive groups and listening and just trying to olalo is effective for me. I think I've seen that on Clubhouse. I'm not familiar much with Clubhouse, but I hear it's another social media platform. They have an Olala Hawaiʻi like Kamaʻilio session every week. I think it's every week that you can just call in or log in and listen to people talking story. And then last year there's like a whole humongous repository of Le'a Nue Nue and all of the different programs that came out of Le'a Nue Nue, all the webinars. Just like Ekekela has so many different webinars. There's Olala Hawaiʻi Valeno. So if you guys wanted to, I can look at the link, but there's a Google Sheet, I think, that has all the links to all the recordings you just watch and listen.
Kako piovo I kolawa mana'o. Exactly what all they said. That's basically it. You know, it really just aya ike kanakaya. It depends on the learning style of the kanaka. So like how you said, Hayden, from the Kui Kamana Leo. Yeah, like that to me. Like I like to listen to that. But a lot of us too, like through hula, you know what I mean? You can learn through mele. And because when you're dancing, you want to know what you're dancing about. And so that comes very instrumental too. You don't necessarily have to go to Papa or Lelo Hawaii to learn that, but even just do hula, and listening to the mele and kind of, ho'opili aku na kuhilima I ke mele, yeah, like you're gonna ho'opili your emotion to the word, yeah. So if I'm talking about a bird, I'm not gonna be like, right, that's not a bird motion, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So it's like you can learn. There's so many different learners. Are you a hands-on? I'm a hands-on. Are you a reader? I'm not a reader. I'm still not a reader. I'll read, but I'm not gonna, go from ekahi to ho'okai haneli. No, not at all. Listening from and immersing, just olalo. So, aya ike kanapa.
Mahalo for those wonderful answers. So unfortunately, some of our presenters are gonna have to log off soon. So I'm gonna be sending you guys a follow-up email in the next couple of days. I will have their contact information and I will also link all of the resources that were shared, such as Auntie Napua's one that she just put into the chat. So at this moment, if there isn't anything else, mahalo nui to our speakers for coming, my partners for helping me host this, my organizers Jason and Erica for helping to make this happen, and mahalo to our attendees. Mahalo to having the want to come and learn your Olelo Hawaii. So mahalo for coming and aloha.